The first time Liam noticed something different about Mrs. Harper, his neighbor. He didn't realize it at the moment. She had always been kind, the type of person who smiled at everyone and seemed to know just when someone needed help. Her house, right next door to his apartment, always smelled faintly of lavender. And sometimes he would catch the sound of her playing soft piano music in the evenings. Liam was 24, freshly out of college, working at a small marketing firm downtown. And though life was hectic, he liked the quiet rhythm of his routine. That quiet was exactly why the day she knocked on his door changed everything. He opened it without thinking, expecting perhaps to hear a complaint about noise or a small favor. Instead, she stood there holding a tray of cookies, her hands slightly trembling and an expression he couldn't quite read. "Hi, Liam," she said softly, almost hesitantly. "I know this is sudden, but could you help me with something today?" He blinked. Her tone didn't suggest anything trivial. There was a gravity in her eyes, the kind that made a person stop, pause, and listen. "Sure," he said, stepping aside. "What do you need?" She led him inside, and as he stepped into her living room, Liam felt a strange mix of familiarity and tension. The room was cozy, filled with books and pictures, a soft carpet underfoot, and the scent of coffee in the air. I'm working on a surprise project for my husband," she said, avoiding his eyes. "I can't do it alone, and I thought maybe you could help. You've always been good at seeing details, right?" Liam nodded, intrigued. He wasn't sure why, but he felt a rush of responsibility, and something else, a warmth in his chest. The kind that made ordinary moments feel significant. "Of course," he said. "Tell me what it is." Mrs. Harper smiled, small and tentative, like she was afraid he might refuse. "It's a gift, something creative. Want to make a photo album, but not just any album. I want it to tell a story, show moments that matter most. I know it's sentimental, but I want it perfect." Liam felt a little thrill of excitement. He had always liked projects like this, ones that required thought, care, and attention. Yet, watching her shift nervously, he realized there was more to this request than simply helping a neighbor. Her eyes held a vulnerability that tugged at him, a silent plea he couldn't ignore. They spent the next hour sorting through stacks of photographs, her hands brushing against his occasionally as they reached for the same picture. Each touch was brief but left a lingering warmth that neither mentioned. She told stories about each photograph, anecdotes about her husband, about family trips, quiet moments that she cherished. Liam listened intently, asking questions, laughing softly at the memories she shared as the afternoon sunlight filtered through her curtains. Liam noticed the way her gaze lingered on him sometimes, and he felt a confusing mixture of admiration and unease. It wasn't inappropriate, but it was charged in intensity that made this simple act of helping feel unexpectedly personal. When she suggested they take a break, Liam accepted, sitting with her in the kitchen over tea. "I'm not usually like this," she said quietly, stirring her tea. "I don't usually ask for help. I tend to manage everything myself. But this project, it matters to me. I want it to be perfect." "You've already done a lot," Liam said gently. "You don't have to be perfect. The care that counts." She smiled, eyes glistening. "That's why I asked you. You see things differently. And, well, I guess I needed someone who understands." The afternoon passed quickly, the room filled with quiet conversation, shared laughter, and the occasional silence that felt comfortable rather than awkward. Liam realized he was invested not just in the project, but in her presence, in the way she made the world feel softer and slower, even if just for a moment. As he prepared to leave, Mrs. Harper walked him to the door. "Thank you, Liam," she said, her voice catching slightly. "I couldn't have started this without you." He nodded, trying to hide the strange flutter in his chest. "Anytime," he said, though inside he already knew this wasn't going to be just a simple favor. There was something beginning here. Something subtle but undeniable. and neither of them fully understood where it might lead. As he stepped back into the evening air, Liam glanced at her window and saw her watching him leave. The soft light caught her profile just right, and for a second he imagined a future filled with small, quiet moments like today. The air felt heavier, charged with something unspoken. Something had started, and neither of them could ignore it. The next morning, Liam woke up thinking about the previous day. He couldn't shake the image of Mrs. Harper's soft smile. The way her eyes seemed to look right through him, and the quiet intensity in her voice. It wasn't something he usually felt for neighbors, or anyone really, but there was no denying the pull he felt. When he got to work, his mind kept drifting back to her house. The photographs, the stories, and the way the sunlight had caught her hair. He tried to focus on the marketing campaign he was managing, but every email, every meeting felt blurred, as if he was living two lives at once, the ordinary and the one he had glimpsed in her living room. By late afternoon, his phone buzzed. It was a message from her. "Are you free today? I need your help with the album. It's a bit tricky, and I could really use you." A thrill ran through him. Texted back immediately, agreeing, and before long, he was walking down the familiar sidewalk to her house. The golden light of the late afternoon made everything feel warmer, and Liam felt a strange mix of anticipation and nervousness he couldn't explain. She opened the door before he could knock. "I didn't expect you so soon," she said, though there was a hint of relief in her voice. "I'm glad you came." Inside, the project had grown more complex. There were loose prints, notes, and decorations spread across her dining table. Liam took in the work she had done, impressed by the thought she had put into every detail. "Wow," he said, genuinely amazed. "You've done so much already. I think it's going to be perfect." She smiled but shook her head. "It's good, yes, but I need your touch. Some of these layouts they don't feel right. I want it to flow, to tell the story naturally." They worked side by side, arranging photos, writing captions, laughing when a memory was so vivid it made them both smile. Liam noticed small things, the way she would glance at him while reaching for something, or how her hand brushed against his arm for just a second longer than necessary. The room was filled with soft energy, a quiet tension that neither acknowledged. But both felt hours passed faster than either expected. They moved to the living room floor, spreading out the pages, comparing ideas. And Liam found himself sharing stories of his own life, childhood memories, college experiences, and small victories. Mrs. Harper listened intently, asking questions and teasing lightly, and Liam realized how natural it felt to be around her, how easy it was to open up. At one point, she sighed and leaned back, looking exhausted. "I don't know if I can finish this today," she admitted, rubbing her temples. "I wanted it to be ready by tomorrow, but it feels impossible." Liam paused, searching for words. "Hey," he said gently, "you're doing amazing. Okay. Let's just take it one step at a time. We'll get it done together." She looked at him, her eyes softening, and for a moment, Liam caught a glimpse of something deeper. A vulnerability, maybe trust, maybe something unspoken between them. "You really make it easier," she murmured. The sunlight began to fade, leaving the room in golden shadows. Liam realized that in the quiet moments between arranging photos and writing captions, he had begun to notice her in ways that made his heart race. The warmth of her presence was magnetic, almost impossible to ignore. Just as he was about to suggest they call it a day, she hesitated, then said quietly, "There's one more thing I want to try. It's unusual, but I think it could make the album special." Liam tilted his head, curious. "It's unusual how?" She bit her lip, glancing down at the papers on the floor. "I want to include moments that aren't just pictures. Things that show emotion. Moments that mean something more than what's on the surface. I think it would help if we acted out some of the memories. To capture the feeling. For real." He blinked, unsure what she meant at first. Then he realized she wasn't asking for anything improper. She wanted him to help recreate moments, to add life to the photos, to make the storytelling authentic. It was creative, emotional, and intimate in the best sense. He nodded slowly, a thrill running through him. I can do that. We'll make it work. She smiled, relief washing over her face. Thank you, Liam. You don't know how much this means to me. As they began, the room filled with quiet laughter, soft stories, and small gestures, leaning close to arrange a photo, sharing. A glance over a caption, testing expressions and positions. Every moment felt electric, charged with connection, but safe and heartfelt. By the time Liam left that evening, the sky was dark and the first stars were appearing. He felt a strange part longing, part exhilaration. Something had shifted. Between them, a connection deeper than neighborly friendship. He didn't know where it would lead, but he knew he wanted to be a part of this project. It's part of her world. And somewhere deep down, he sensed that Mrs. Harper felt the same. The next evening, Liam found himself thinking about Mrs. Harper more than he wanted to admit. Her words, her laughter, the way she had asked for his help, all lingered in his mind like a soft echo. He tried to focus on his routine, but the thought of returning to her house to continue the project pulled at him. By the time he reached her door, his heart was already racing. She greeted him with a warm smile, her eyes brighter than usual. I didn't think you'd come so quickly, she said, stepping aside to let him in. I'm glad you did. I have a few more ideas we could try. Inside, the room was arranged differently this time. Cushions on the floor, the photos spread out more carefully, some decorated with small handwritten notes and little doodles she had added since his last visit. The effort she had put in was impressive. But it was the energy she brought that captivated him most. I thought we could start with the outdoor shots, she said, excitement in her voice. Some memories work better if we recreate them in the right setting. It will help capture the feeling. Liam nodded, curious and eager. They moved to her backyard, which was small but charming, with flowers lining the fence and a swing that looked old but inviting. She handed him a few props, old books, scarves, even a small notebook hand explained her vision. He realized she wanted the album to reflect not just photos, but moments, feelings, emotions, moments brought to life. As they began, Liam noticed how natural it felt to follow her direction. She had a gentle way of guiding him, suggesting small gestures, positioning props, and encouraging creativity. Her laughter when something didn't work, or the way her eyes lit up when it did, made the afternoon feel alive, almost magical. Liam found himself absorbed in the process, forgetting everything else around him. During a break, she leaned against the fence, brushing a stray hair from her face. I know this may seem strange, she said softly, but it means so much to me. These moments, they're more than just memories. They're feelings I want to hold on to forever. He looked at her and felt a tug in his chest. I understand, he said quietly, and I think you're creating something beautiful. I'm glad I can help. Her eyes softened, and for a brief moment, Liam felt a connection so deep that it almost startled him. It wasn't romantic in the usual sense, but it was intimate in a way that words couldn't capture, an emotional closeness that made time slow down. They continued, recreating small gestures, capturing tiny expressions, laughing when something didn't turn out as expected. Liam realized he was learning more about her in these hours than he had in all the years living next door. She shared stories about her childhood, little fears she hadn't told anyone, and dreams she quietly hoped to achieve. Each revelation made him care more, not in a fleeting way, but deeply. Thoughtfully, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the backyard. Mrs. Harper paused and looked at him with a mix of relief and gratitude. I couldn't have done this without you, she whispered. You bring more to this than I ever imagined. Liam felt a warmth spread through him. It's been special, he admitted. I didn't expect to feel this connected, but I do, she smiled. And for a second, there was silence between them. Comfortable, loaded silence. Liam realized that their partnership had grown into something beyond a simple project. It was trust, understanding, and emotional intimacy wrapped together. Just as he was about to speak, she shifted her gaze toward the small swing in the corner. "There's one more thing," she said quietly. "I've been saving it for last. It's the most personal moment. And I'd like you to help me with it." Curiosity and anticipation surged through him. "What is it?" he asked. She hesitated, glancing down at the floor, then back at him. "It's a memory I've never shared with anyone, but I want it in the album because it shaped who I am. And I think it might be easier if we recreate it together." Liam nodded, his heart pounding. He couldn't explain why, but he felt ready. Ready to see another side of her, ready to help her preserve something deeply meaningful. Ready to be part of this moment in a way that felt important and honest. As the sky darkened and stars began to appear, they began the final scene. The air between them was quiet but alive, filled with shared focus, understanding, and a fragile, growing bond neither could name yet. Liam realized that this project was no longer just about an album. It was about them, about trust, about the beginning of something that might change everything. As the night settled around the small backyard, he knew that whatever came next, neither of them would forget this day. Something had shifted quietly, profoundly, and it left him wanting more. The following evening, Liam returned to Mrs. Harper's house, a mixture of curiosity and anticipation tightening in his chest. Tonight was different. There was a quiet intensity in the air, as if the album itself had a heartbeat, and they were both caught up in it. He knocked, and she opened the door with a soft smile, her eyes reflecting a blend of excitement and nervousness. "Thank you for coming again," she said, stepping aside. "Tonight, we finish this. The last memory is the most personal one, and I hope you can help me." Inside, the living room was transformed. The photos they had arranged over the past few days were now framed neatly on the floor, and the space was calm, almost sacred. The atmosphere felt heavier, charged with unspoken emotions, but safe and inviting. Liam realized this was more than a project, it was trust. And she was letting him in. She led him to a small corner of the room where a single old armchair sat, next to a low table with a stack of letters tied with a ribbon. "This memory," she began softly, "is the moment that shaped who I am. My husband doesn't know it, and neither does anyone else. I've never shared it, but I want it in the album so it can stay alive forever." Liam nodded, feeling the gravity of her words. "I understand. I'll help." She smiled faintly, taking a deep breath. "It's about a time I felt completely alone. A moment I thought I couldn't overcome. But I learned something important about myself, about trust, about letting others in. And I want to capture that feeling, not just in words, but in expression, in atmosphere." Together, they recreated the memory. Liam followed her direction carefully, arranging the letters, the chair, and the small objects that mattered to her. He watched as she positioned herself, closed her eyes, and let the memory guide her movements. Her expressions shifted subtly from vulnerability to strength, from fear to quiet courage. Liam was captivated, not just by the scene, but by her presence. By the honesty she displayed without saying a single word. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You're brave." She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. "I never thought anyone would see this side of me," she admitted. "But you've been patient, kind, and understanding. I feel safe with you." Her words struck him deeply. The warmth in her voice, the sincerity in her eyes, it left him breathless. "I feel the same," he said, his voice low. "It's easy being here with you. I don't know why, but it feels right." For the next hour, they worked silently, letting the memory unfold naturally. There were small laughs when props didn't cooperate, quiet sighs of relief when a pose felt right, and moments of shared understanding that required no words at all. Liam realized that the trust she had placed in him had created a bond neither of them expected. A connection that was safe, respectful, but undeniably deep. When they finally placed the last photograph in the album, Mrs. Harper leaned back and exhaled, a mixture of relief and joy on her face. "It's done," she said softly. "It's exactly what I hoped for. Thank you for everything." Liam smiled, a sense of accomplishment and warmth spreading through him. "You did it," he said. "We did it together." For a moment, they just sat there looking at the completed album. The room was quiet, but the air felt full of shared effort, trust, and the unspoken understanding that something meaningful had grown between them. She stood, brushing her hands together. "I don't think I could have done this without you," she said. "Kay, I don't want this to end. Not the connection we've built. Not what this project became." Liam felt a lump in his throat. "Neither do I," he admitted. "Wasn't expecting this project to mean so much, but it does. It means more than just an album. It means trust, friendship, something more." She nodded, smiling, and for a long moment they just looked at each other, letting the weight of their emotions settle. There was no rush, no pressure, only the quiet understanding that what they shared was special. As he prepared to leave, she walked him to the door. "I hope this doesn't end with the album," she said softly. "I hope we keep creating moments like this, together." Liam smiled, feeling a lightness and anticipation he hadn't felt in years. "We will," he promised. "We'll see where this goes." As he stepped into the night, the stars twinkling above, Liam realized that something beautiful had started. It wasn't about romance in the traditional sense. It was connection, trust, intimacy, and mutual respect. And in that quiet moment, he knew that their bond, built through shared stories, laughter, and memories, was only beginning. He looked back once at her window, and she waved softly, a smile that held gratitude, warmth, and a quiet invitation for the future. Liam felt a surge of hope. Whatever came next, he knew one thing: some connections change lives, and this one had already changed his.